Immigrant detention. It's extremely divisive, but maybe it shouldn't be, because the right and the left actually share a common enemy here. One industry that has leveraged corruption, cronyism, and former KKK leaders to wreak havoc on the agendas of both parties. I'll explain. We all know that corruption is rampant in America. Still, you'd think an issue like immigrant detention would be safe from the influence of money. It's not. Why? Because immigrant detention is a multi-hundred-million-dollar business. To understand how this business works without vomiting, it's helpful to think of human beings as commodities, like corn. America takes corn and we pay for-profit prison corporations to process and store our corn. For those companies, foreign imports, including women and children, offer an exciting growth opportunity. And keeping their stock price up is about maintaining a steady flow of fresh corn. More undocumented immigrants means more money to them. America's largest for-profit prison companies, GEO Group and Core Civic, exert enormous influence over our elected officials. They distort policies to their benefit, and to see how they do it, all we have to do is follow two kinds of money. First up, lobbying money. Between 2008 and 2014, Core Civic spent $13 million lobbying. Curiously, 70% of that went to one place: the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee. Why? Because this subcommittee determines how much is spent on immigrant detention. So it should come as no surprise that in 2009, they did something very strange. Meet Senator Robert Byrd. He was a Democrat, the chairman of that subcommittee in 2009, and, this is true, a former exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. Because Klan members choose their names by just drawing random Magic the Gathering cards. Welcome to the Klan. Bill, your title is Terror Shrimp. It's a shrimp mutant. No? Well, try again. Ancient Crab. Oath of Anjani. That's a cat with abs. Okay. In 2009, Byrd invented the immigrant detention bed quota. It forced Congress to pay for 33,400 beds for immigrant detention at all times, even if we had no use for them. And even though undocumented immigration was on the decline at the time. This is just classic Congress logic. If Congress had 8 hot dogs, they would purchase 300,000 buns for $20 billion. But it gets worse, because members of that subcommittee started treating the quota as if it were a mandate to incarcerate an arbitrary number of people. Just look at this extraordinary exchange between Representative John Culberson from Texas, who took over $89,000 from for-profit prisons in his career, and the former director of ICE.
I don't see that it's ambiguous, the requirement that you use not less than 34,000 detention beds.
It's not optional to have them available. If you're asking me whether it's more important to fill a bed than it is to do it right, I have to go with doing it right.
It's not optional. We want you to use 34,000 beds.
That's
You've got plenty of demand.
absolutely clear to me, but sir, we don't detain people just for the heck of it.
That's insane. What John doesn't realize, because his office was probably full of for-profit prison lobbyists all the time, is that what's good for these prisons is bad for everyone else. Here's why. They make us less safe. As that former ICE director noted, trying to detain everyone sucks up our resources and makes it harder for us to pursue those few individuals that might actually pose a threat. 2, it's a gigantic money pit. If you complain about immigrants freeloading off of public services, detention forces the government to pay for food, housing, healthcare, everything. It's a soup-to-nuts nanny state if that nanny was a total psychopath. Also, immigrant detention is not an effective deterrent. If it were, immigration would be on the decline right now, but it's not. A Stanford law study covers all this. You can find the link below, but think of it this way. 3 years after Obamacare passed, 40% of Americans didn't even know it existed. What are the chances that immigrants who, like the rest of us, don't watch CNN and are often in serious distress, know the nuances of our immigration policies? This brings us to way number 2, donations. For all the reasons I just mentioned and more, the Justice Department decided to end their relationship with for-profit prisons on August 18th, 2016. But they didn't end, because the very next day, GEO Group gave a pro-Trump super PAC $100,000. 1 week before the election, they gave that super PAC another $125,000, and after Trump was elected, they spent $250K on his inaugural fund. What did all that money buy them? Well, 1 month into Trump's presidency, the Justice Department decided they weren't going to end for-profit prison contracts after all. 1 month after that, GEO Group was awarded a $100 million contract to build a new detention facility in Texas. If you're thinking, How is that legal? It's not. If you contract with the government, you cannot donate directly to politicians. But GEO Group got away with it because they said we didn't make the donation, an unrelated subsidiary named GEO Corrections Holdings made it, which is like saying my mouth is an unrelated subsidiary of my face, and therefore I'm not responsible for anything I'm saying. And so for-profit prisons stay a reality in America. Our government keeps wasting our money to prop up the stock price of companies that treat human beings like livestock, that incarcerate women and children and families in facilities that are rife with sexual and physical assault, malnutrition, disease, and death. And for what? Less security? Weaker immigration policy? More national debt? If that's not good enough for you, join the fight to fix it. Follow this link to see how you can get involved. Thanks for watching, and remember to always treat each other like shit in the comment section below.
PA Voter Information Network. It's a game changer.